When I did this project, the Back Porch Sessions, which Somerville is on, I just wanted to return to the place where it was simple and where music was easy. And I just did what felt good, and that was Somerville, and that's what made me think of that, and that's what made me write the song.
This is Live at the Hall from the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum. This week, Michael Gray talks with singer, songwriter, and radio host Rissi Palmer.
Running barefooted through the summertime, white sheet drying on that old clothesline. You'd say, child, wash your feet before you come inside to eat. I'd show up at the start of June. August always came too soon. When we pull away in our four-door, you'd stand crying on your front porch. Oh, Highland Avenue. Ooh, I left too soon to take 20 years. If you left turns to get me back to where you were, and love was still here in Somerville. Shed a tear, crack a smile when I let my mind wander down that country mile where love is here in Somerville. You take a ham bone and flat green beans, turn a bear cupboard into a feast. If you didn't have nothing, you couldn't tell me. You always had my cherry ice cream. You raised us all on kisses and honey, Jesus and switches, stretching money. You knew God and you gave him us. We had you so we knew love. Oh, oh, Highland Avenue. Ooh, I left too soon to take 20 years. If you left turns to get me back to where you were, love was still here in Somerville. Shed a tear, I crack a smile when I let my mind wander down the country mile where love is real here in Somerville. There's an overgrown field where your flowers grew. There's a house, but there's no you. Highland Avenue. Ooh, I'm missing you. It took 20 years. If you left turns to get me back to where you were when love was still. Oh, in Somerville, shed a tear, I crack a smile when I let my mind wander down the country mile. My heart is still in Somerville. Yeah. Na 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 na. My heart is still, oh yeah, Somerville. Yeah. One day I'm coming home. I love you, I love you. Yeah, yeah, no matter where I go, my heart is still, oh yeah, Somerville. Na 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 na. Oh, my heart is here in Somerville. Na 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 na. Oh, my heart is still in Somerville.
Welcome, Rissi Palmer, to the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, and thank you for being a part of our Live at the Hall series. And came all the way from Durham, North Carolina. So we appreciate
No,
you
this
being
is so awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And of course, right now you're featured in the museum's exhibit, American Currents, State of the Music. And
Yeah.
it's
So surreal, but yes.
yeah. For that exhibit, we look at the past year in country music and the most significant developments that have happened over the previous year. And, the staff here really recognizes how important your radio show is, Color Me Country on Apple Music, which spotlights, racial diversity in country music. And I definitely want to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
But first I thought, I just wanted to talk to you about your own, your songwriting and your recording career and, to understand your creativity, I think we need to dig into your roots a little bit.
Give me some context. Yes. No.
Yeah. So, I know you were born near Pittsburgh and spent a lot of your adolescence in the St. Louis area. How did you get so passionate about music?
I grew up, well, first of all, I'd be in trouble if I didn't shout out both the places. So Sewickley, Pennsylvania is where I was born, and Eureka, Missouri is where I grew up. I grew up in a house that loved music. Like, neither one of my parents are musicians, but they loved music, and their record collection was amazing. And so I just got an opportunity to hear on a regular basis like Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, Chaka Khan, Phoebe Snow, Peter Frampton, Earth, Wind and Fire, like Aretha Franklin, like all these different things. And I realized really early on that music just resonated with me. It made me happy. Like, I remember my mom wrote in my baby book when I was like 2 that she sings constantly. And so I think I just always knew. And I just always loved music.
Yeah. We mentioned Pennsylvania and Missouri, but I know that you also spent a lot of your childhood at Somerville, Georgia, and you wrote a song about it. What inspired you to write the song Somerville?
So Somerville was the place where, like, I didn't go to summer camp. I went to my grandma's house, and both my grandmothers lived in Atlanta. And so on my mother's side, my great grandmother lived in Somerville. And so my maternal grandmother and I, after like the first month that I was in town, we would go and spend like 2 weeks with my great grandmother at her house in Somerville, and pretty much related to everybody there. And it's a really small town, very cool, sweet place. And I don't know, it was the first place that I realized that, like, people wanted to hear me sing. My great grandmother used to love for me to entertain and like pretend to be people and imitate people and sing the songs that we heard on the radio. And so at night we would sit out on the porch, my grandmother, my great grandmother, my great uncle, and my great aunt, and they would give me quarters and I'd just sing into a push broom. And I loved it so much. And I was like, I can get paid to do this. This is great. And when I did this project, the Back Porch Sessions, which Somerville is on, I felt like I was returning to what I loved. It was after a long hiatus of not making music, and I just wanted to return to the place where it was simple and where music was easy. And I just did what felt good, and that was Somerville, and that's what made me think of that, and that's what made me write the song.
Yeah. So when did you first start writing your own songs?
Lord, I think I found a tape that I made when I was like 4, where I wasn't like technically writing it, but I was like making up the lyrics into my tape recorder, and I would record them. And it's funny because like I would think of something, then I'm like, okay, I'll be back. And then I'd hit stop, and then I'd come back. Okay, here's the next part. And like it went on like this all day long. And so, yeah, I think I started writing songs at 4.
Goodness. Wow.
They weren't good, but they were songs.
Yeah, you're being creative. Yeah. Rissi, when did you kind of realize that that you knew that music was what you were going to pursue, full time as a career, and really go for it, rather than just as a hobby?
I think I've always known. I was the kid at career day, where like you had to dress up like what you wanted, and like kids were dressing up like doctors and lawyers and teachers, and I came in like a sequined caftan and and my mom's big earrings and stuff, and like I had her put makeup on me so I could be a singer, and I was like, I'm a singer. And I remember the kids, like we had to research it and all that, and like the kids were like, you can't be a singer, and I was like, yes I can. But I've always known, like I knew in high school I had to, try to figure out where I was going to go to college and all that stuff. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't know why I'm doing this, because all I really want to do is move to Atlanta or Nashville and write songs and do music. And yeah, it's always been a part of me and a part of what I wanted to do.
Yeah. On your radio show, you've mentioned once or twice that, about the time you were graduating from high school is right when Patty Griffin and the Dixie Chicks and Shania were all hitting.
There's so much good stuff. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to go there. Wherever they do that and make that kind of music, that's where I want to go.
Right. So when did you come to Nashville? What were the circumstances?
So I came to Nashville. I was 18 years old. I had just finished like my second semester of college. And I was working with managers at the time who were also Black women. And we were trying to figure out what my sound was and all that. And like, it kept coming back to country. And I kept naming all these songs that I love and like all these things that I had written. And they were just like, Rissi, this is like a country song. Because at first they were like, pop was big and Mariah Carey and Lauryn Hill was out at that time. And Destiny's Child had just come out. And so that's what Black girls did. That's what young 18-year-old Black girls did. They went and they made pop records. And so we started out trying to do that. And I was just like, I just don't want to do that. And listen to this song and y'all tell me what you think. And they're like, it's a country song. And I was like, yeah. I was like, this is the kind of stuff that I'm writing. And so I don't know how they did it, but they ended up linking up with someone who knew someone at a publishing company here in Nashville. And we set up a meeting with them, and I sang for them live and sang some of my stuff, and they saw potential in me. It was a company called Song Planet, and I signed my first publishing deal that summer, right before I turned 19, and I started writing songs here, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. Yeah. And at some point, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis were interested in working with you?
So that was... because, everybody's like a 7-year overnight success. So during the time from when I first came to Nashville to when I was signed, I lived in Atlanta for a while, and I lived in New York for a while. And while I was in New York, I was in the airport, and I was flying to, I forget where we were going. I think we were going to Los Angeles. And Terry Lewis saw me in the airport walking around with my guitar, and he's just like, you play that thing? And I realized it's him because, the hat and the sunglasses and everything. And I was like, you're Terry Lewis. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, so what do you do? And I said, I'm a singer. And he said, well, what do you sing? And I said, I sing country. And he's like, you don't sing country. And I was like, I do. And so I gave him my demo. And this was a demo that I had done with Deborah Allen. And so I handed it to him. And he said, okay, I'm going to listen to this. So he took it. And this kid's was back when everybody had portable CD players. And so he listened to it while he was on the plane. And we got a phone call, like when we landed, we had a voicemail on my manager's voicemail. And he was just like, how long are you guys in LA? I want to meet you. So we went, we had the meeting. We ended up meeting with him for like 3 hours and just had a really great rapport. They're really, Terry and Jimmy are just, they're amazing. Their track record speaks for itself, but they're really amazing people. They offered me a deal. And once we started talking about the deal, it became clear that they wanted to go in a very different direction than what I wanted to do creatively. And, they're like, we love that you love what you love and that this is what you do. But we think that for marketing purposes and just for a lot of reasons, we think that you may fare better over here. And so I had to make a decision while negotiating the thing that I'd been wanting for all these years. And I ended up turning the deal down.
Wow.
And felt horrible about it for the longest time. And then ironically, I ran into them a couple months ago here in Nashville at NAMM at an event. And I was like, do you remember? And he's like, yes, I remember you. And he's like, I'm so proud of you. He's like, I'm proud of you for sticking to your guns. And he's like, you did well. You didn't need us. And I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned Deborah Allen, and that kind of triggered a thought is that you recently, one of the episodes on your radio show, you recently got together with your friend Shelley Warren and talked about country soul and you went, I mean, you know, you talked about Dolly Parton writing I Will Always Love You and Whitney Houston covering it, and you talked about Ray Charles, but you even went deeper and you talked about like how Prince was writing songs for Kenny Rogers and Deborah Allen. And I've heard you describe your own music as Southern soul.
Yeah. I think of my music like early on, like my first album is very much country pop record. And I'm just influenced by a lot of different things. And the fact that I'm an independent artist and I do all this, you know, on my own, I felt like there's no one telling me I can't. So I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna bring in all the things that make me me. And so what I think of as Southern soul is gospel music. It's soul music, like Muscle Shoals, Otis Redding, Aretha Franklin, like that kind of soul music. And country music. And all those things kind of mixed in together, I think, create my sound and like what I do, what I try to do.
So when Country Girl came out in 2007, you were the first Black woman to hit the Billboard country charts like in 20 years, and one of the few Black women to ever hit that chart. What was that year like for you, both the highlights and the low points?
That was 2007?
Yeah.
Wow. I'll be honest with you. It was like a whirlwind. Because when that single came out, we were starting radio tour. And I still, to this day, I believe that I have had the longest radio tour of any artist ever. Like, I feel like we toured for like 2 years. But I was on radio tour, and the song was climbing. We were shooting a video while on radio tour, so I was trying to get ready for that. And, like, we had just started playing shows, and I was trying to get used to a band. And so it was just like, it was a year of getting my feet wet. It was a year of learning new things, of getting out and like really doing the grind. Like you spend your whole life writing the first album, and then we spent like 2 years recording it. And I had been in the studio and like kind of living a very chill existence. And then all of a sudden you're on the road. You have a song on the radio and it's climbing. And so I did my first tour that year with Sawyer Brown and Chris Young and Carolyn Dawn Johnson. And I played the Opry for the first time that year. And like, it was crazy. It was a crazy year. It was wonderful because I got to do full time what it is that I'd been telling people I wanted to do since I was a little kid. And, you know, it was a nice full circle moment for me and my family. But, you know, I didn't get to see my friends a lot anymore. I didn't really get to see my family a lot. It's grueling. Like radio tour for people that have never done it before, it's a lot. And sometimes you're doing 2 to 3 cities a day, and you're on airplanes, and the food's not good sometimes, and like you can't really take care of yourself. I was sick a lot. And people are always very nice on radio tour. And so sometimes you go and they love you and they're champions for you and it's awesome. And then you go and they don't like you or they don't want to talk to you. Or, you know, they're like, we're never going to play the song anyway, so thanks for coming. And so it was a humbling year, but it was a huge honor and it was a huge charge to be able to do what it is that I love and be actually doing it.
Right. As a Black woman in country music, did you find yourself having to like justify your presence in the genre?
All the time. I call it the authenticity test. And I've talked to a couple other people that have experienced the same thing. And it's this, I don't think it's like a malicious thing. Like, I don't think anybody's trying to be mean or anything like that. But I do think because there's not so many of us, it's a curious thing. And so you ask, oh, well, how did you get into country music? Or do you know this song? Like, I actually had one time I went to a radio station and they had me listen to like 2-second snippets of old country songs to see if I knew who they were, like Fair and Young and like that kind of thing. And I'm like, because I'm a music head, I knew a lot of it, but I didn't like the feeling of it because it was almost like it was putting me on the spot. And we're going to see what she knows. And I asked my other peers who were radio touring at the same time, you know, did they do this to you? Did you do that? No, we just had a conversation on air. So it was a lot of that kind of thing. And yeah, it does something to you because it makes you start to question, well, am I for real? Am I honest? Am I really, you know, am I crazy? Is it me? So yeah.
Right. Rissi, when and why did you leave Nashville?
I left in 2010. So let me give you some context. The year prior, in 2009, the record label that I was signed to, 1720, we got to the point where it was impossible for us to work together anymore. Business-wise and personal-wise, it just wasn't a good scene for me anymore. And I'm very grateful and thankful for everything that they did because we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation if they hadn't. But it just came to a point where it wasn't a good place for me anymore. And so we got into a legal battle. And it took about a year for me to get out of my deal. And I came back to Nashville with every intention of making another record and doing more music and getting back out, and found that no one was interested anymore. And the industry had kind of just moved on. And so it was really hurtful. And I spent about 6 months writing and trying to get things going again. And it just wasn't happening. And so I was just like, in that same time, I just met my husband and we were getting engaged. And he was just like, I want you to move to North Carolina. And I was like, okay, great. So I figured you can do music anywhere. And I left.
Yeah. And then you started making music as an independent artist, and including releasing songs like Somerville and Seeds.
Yeah.
And
looking back on it, it was a really hurtful time. But now when I look at it, if it hadn't happened, I don't think I'd be here. I don't think the show would have happened. I don't think that my creativity would have reached, the points that it has, and I wouldn't have tried the things that I've tried because it's on me. I think I'm a better artist because of that time. So I'm really grateful that it happened.
Yeah.
I wish maybe it would have been less expensive, but yes, I'm glad that it happened.
Yeah. And of course, it makes you the perfect host for a show like Color Me Country. I mean, your heart for humanity is just on display there, and I've learned so much. Just listening to you and the artists you've exposed me to, and you have everyone from well-known artists like Darius Rucker and Mickey Guyton, but more obscure artists too. And so I really appreciate everything you're doing. What were your motivations and goals when you set out to do this show? How did the radio show come about?
Well, so I have to shout out one of my best friends, Shelly. Shelly had been telling me for years, because we would have these conversations, like these deep prodding conversations about country music and about music and all these things that I was upset about and social justice issues mixed with music. And she's like, Rissi, I love you, but like, you need to find another outlet for this. I don't want to talk about this all the time. And she was just like, I think this would be a great podcast. And I never had time. I have 2 children now and a husband and like a career that I'm running and that sort of thing. So like there wasn't ever time. Fast forward to 2019 and 2020, suddenly we're in a pandemic and we're in the house and I have all the time in the world. And everybody that I would want to talk to about this stuff is at home. So I know I can get in touch with them. So the biggest thing that I wanted to accomplish was I knew there were stories that weren't being told. And because my story was like that. And so much, if we can't Google it and find the answer immediately, then we don't think that it existed. And I saw so many articles that just were continuously getting, black and white, that were just getting it wrong and just basically narrowing down the contributions of BIPOC people to Charlie Pride and like 4 other people that are now contemporaries. And that's not true. And so I just wanted to expose those stories. And not just that, I wanted to give artists that were starting out a platform and a place where you can be 100% honest. And you know that I've most likely been through what you've been through, so I can commiserate, and we're peers. And yeah, I didn't think that it was going to be what it turned into. I just was like, I'm going to have conversations with my friends and I'm going to record it. And hopefully someone will listen. And, you know, thanks to Kelly McCartney for getting it to Apple Music, and Michael Bryan and Emily Parker for believing in the show and wanting to be a part of it, I never had to air the first terrible episode that we edited ourselves. Wow. So it was, thank God they came and saved me. So it was good, and saved y'all. So you didn't have to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just went back and re-listened to that pilot episode, and there was at one point, I think you said something along the lines, if you're not allowed a seat at the table, then build your own. And that's what you did. And kudos. I mean, it's we're all benefiting as a result. We got to talk about the name of the show and where that came from.
Well, if I was going to do a show like this, I had to name it this. Like, it was a perfect name, and it was just right there. The show is named Color Me Country after Linda Martell. And Linda Martell was the first black woman on highest charting to this day, black female country artist ever. And she was the first to play the Grand Ole Opry. And to me, she's my role model. She's one of my heroes. She's the predecessor to Mickey and to myself and to so many women that followed her. And, the road was a little less hard because of her. And so, and it's the perfect name. It was the name of her first album. And I was just like trying to figure out what I was going to call it. And I thought about that. And 2020 was the 50th anniversary of the album. And I'd been in an article that was in Zora magazine with Mickey talking about Linda. And it was titled Color Me Country. And I was like, that's the show. So yeah, that's where the name came from.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to correspond with Linda Martell?
Linda sent me the most beautiful card. I had gotten in touch with her family through Andrea Williams, and just was like, just please tell her that I think she's amazing. And I sent her a card, and she wrote me back. And like, I'm not going to share everything in it because it was personal. It was like I sobbed like a baby when I got it because I wasn't expecting it. But she said she was proud of me, and she was just like, because of you, because of this, there's going to be way more than I could have ever dreamed of. And so, thank you for making me a part of it as well. And I love it. And it's in my office and it's hanging on my wall. So that's wonderful.
And I should point out to our viewers that when we opened the American Currents exhibit that you're a part of, we created a virtual program, and you were kind enough to perform for that, and the song you chose was "Bad Case of the Blues," which opens that up.
That was her second single. Yeah.
So that was great with Charles. Yeah. Are you feeling? Or I guess can you talk a little bit about the reaction to the show? Are you encouraged by the response? Are you feeling hopeful about what's going on in the industry right now?
No, I'm just kidding. The reaction has been phenomenal. Like, I'll be honest with you, I was like, maybe my mom will listen, and like some of my friends or something like that. Like, I wasn't expecting the way that it's been received. I wasn't expecting it at all. I get notes from artists and from fans all the time that are just like, I didn't know that some of these people existed. And so like, you changed my music catalog, or I thought I was the only one that loved country music, and you make me so proud to be a Black country girl. And like, you know, Latinx people, same thing. Like, I didn't know that so many of these artists exist. And thank you for telling our story. Thank you for exposing. Thank you for playing Spanish songs on the show and that sort of thing. So I think a lot of people are being seen that didn't feel seen previously. And there's so many things that are popping up. So this is what makes me hopeful. You asked what makes me hopeful. It makes me hopeful that I live in a time where there are websites like the Black Opry or Country Music Song, Country Soul Songbook, or ChangeCountryMusic.org. Like all these different things, Country Queer, like all these websites and all of these radio shows like Proud Radio with Hunter Kelly, and that these things exist, and that there is an opportunity for everyone who's been on the fringes to be heard. And I think the next frontier of all of this is for all of us to sit back and examine the culture, because the music it just is, and it always will be, always has been, and always will be. And there will always be people that are touched. There will always be people that don't look like you or me that are trying and loving country music. And so I believe in that. And I know that that's the lasting legacy, what makes country music amazing. The thing that has to change is the culture and the way we think about each other, the way we treat each other, the way we talk about each other, and the way we make each other feel when we're in each other's presence. Like, that's the thing that needs to shift. And I'm hopeful because I'm a hopeful person, but it's going to take a lot of self-awareness. It's going to take a lot of self-introspection from all of us. Black people, white people, Latinx people, gay people, whatever. Like, it's going to take a lot for us to sit down and consider each other. And I think once we're there, that's when you're going to see a transformation. And it's not going to be a conversation anymore. You're not going to need my show because it's just going to be what it is.
Great. Very well said. Just to wrap up, I'm wondering, are you working on new music? Are you writing songs?
I am. I'm working on a new project right now. I'm hoping to have all the songs gathered by the end of the year and have it ready for the spring. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. That's what I'm hoping. So fingers crossed.
Great. Well, we really appreciate everything you're doing, and the radio show is great. Please keep up the good work, and I'm just eager to every time I turn it on. I'm eager to learn more and more. So.
You're gonna like these next two shows, so it's good. We've got my last 3 for the season are coming up, so they should be good. I hope you like them.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. This song that we're about to do for y'all was my first single in 2007, and we have done a different arrangement of it to make it more fun. So this is Country Girl, the 2021 version. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the way I think, not how I talk. Oh, no. It's a project for you that makes you walk the walk. And come Sunday morning, palms up and praise. It's all about my mama naming how I was raised. It's a state of mind, no matter where you're from. Living like your grandma done. 'Cause good home training ain't a common thing. No. If this is who you are, let me hear you sing. Hey, you don't have to be a Georgia peach from Savannah Beach to see, from Arkansas to appreciate a southern drawl. Don't need no kid from West Virginia to have it in ya now. Show the world you're a country girl. Oh, yeah. See, I'm the kind of girl that says it with a smile. Oh, yeah, that's sweet as molasses down home style. See what you might call real corn-fed. Oh, yeah, I'm a country girl born and bred. It's a state of mind no matter where you're from. Yeah, living like your grandma done. Oh, 'cause good on training ain't a common thing. No, no, if this is who you are, let me hear you sing. Hey, hey, you don't have to be a Georgia peach from Savannah Beach to see, yeah, from Arkansas to appreciate a southern drawl. Don't need no kid from West Virginia to have it in ya now. Show the world you're a country girl, yeah. Ooh, oh, yeah. All right, ladies, here we go. Ladies, if you understand, let me hear y'all clap your hands. If you hear me and you know you're bad, let me hear y'all clap your hands. Ladies, if you understand, let me hear y'all clap your hands. If you hear me and you know you're bad, all your country girls clap your hands. Hey! You don't have to be a Georgia peach from Savannah Beach to see, yeah, from Arkansas to appreciate a southern drawl. Don't need no kid from West Virginia to have it in ya. No, show the world you're a country girl. Well, if you wanna be a Georgia peach from Savannah Beach to see, yeah, from Arkansas, then sing it with a southern drawl. Don't need no kid from West Virginia to have it in ya. No, show the world you're a country girl.